What do you want to be when you grow up? It's a question I'm sure most of us have been asked at some point in our lives, usually when we were teenagers, maybe even younger. And for some of us, the answer is almost instinctive. But for most of us, it takes a little bit of time to figure it out. At the age of 8, I wanted to be an archaeologist. You might think that's a bit of a strange choice for an 8-year-old, and maybe I had a family member who was one, and that's where I got the idea from. But I'd never met an archaeologist. In fact, I only knew such a thing existed because there was a TV show I was obsessed with as a child. It was called Time Team. Each episode, a team of archaeologists would take on a new project, and through their excavations, they would uncover the secrets of the past. I was intrigued and hooked. And I thought about being an archaeologist for a while, but I was 8, and I had no idea how to become one. By 10, I had already moved on to a new TV show called CSI. I thought Gil Grissom was as cool as you could get, and forensic science became my new career interest. That year, I even asked for and received a microscope set for Christmas. By 12, I was using computers in school, nothing that kids today would recognise. They were these big old-style monitors with big back boxes that took up a whole desk, and we saved things to floppy disks instead of to the cloud. I learned quickly, played strategy games, became fast at typing, and even then I thought computers could be the future, and a job working with them would be a pretty safe bet. But I didn't know any computer programmers or software engineers, and there were some stereotypes at the time that computer programmers were all men or really good at math, and it just didn't feel like something I could be. Ultimately, I didn't become an archaeologist or a forensic scientist or even a software engineer. But what my story illustrates is how young people's ideas for the future, for what job they want to do when they grow up and who they can be, is so heavily influenced by their environment and by what they are exposed to. My generation were the Saturday morning TV kids, so it follows that the jobs I knew about were the ones I discovered through TV. Today's kids, they're the internet and YouTube generation, and it shows. In 2019, the word influencer was added to the dictionary. So my first message today: young people's ideas for the future are heavily influenced by their environment and by what they believe they have the potential to become. Around 5 years ago, I participated on a local career programme as a mentor and was paired with 17-year-old Thomas. Thomas was a bundle of energy and creativity, and he was so engaging and witty and had so much potential, but at times he just couldn't see it in himself. He was completing a qualification in IT, and at the time I offered him 12 weeks of work experience, as well as a listening ear and a little bit of guidance. When the programme ended, we decided to keep in touch, and around a year later we got to chatting, and Thomas just seemed so demotivated and a little bit lost. At the time, I was working on a project to digitise 40 years' worth of HR records. It was as bad as it sounds, and I knew I could use a little help, so I asked for some budget to bring Thomas back in. This time, though, things were very different. Thomas had dropped out of his IT course, and his confidence had taken a hit. During our conversations, he said he thought he wanted to go to university, but he wasn't too sure what he wanted to study or even how to get there. At around the same time, he had become engaged with a local youth support initiative, and through it he realised that what he really wanted to be was a youth worker. So together, we came up with a plan to get him back into college to finish his IT qualification, which would enable him to apply for a degree in community youth work. I am so proud today to say that Thomas is almost finished the first year of that programme. So my second message today: young people can become overwhelmed by choice, and it's easy for them to feel a little bit stuck. I'm sure that's something we can all relate with, and structured interventions can help to get them back on track. You might be wondering why I'm sharing my story and Thomas's story with you today. It's because we are currently facing a significant and detrimental skills challenge, and it's only going to get worse. A massive 75% of businesses in Northern Ireland say they aren't confident they can fill future skilled roles. Innovation and technology is constantly changing the landscape of the world we live and work in, and that rate of change is ever increasing. We throw around these phrases like Industry 4.0 and the Fourth Industrial Revolution, And it includes great things like smart factories and automation, robotics, and the Internet of Things. But when we talk about these things, we often forget one important aspect: people. Today, some of the most in-demand jobs didn't exist 10, or in some cases, even just 5 years ago. Things like a social media manager, a podcast producer, an app developer, even a blockchain engineer. And there are so many more, and we will continue to see new jobs emerge in the future. A popular estimate predicts that 65% of children entering primary school today will ultimately end up working in a job that doesn't even exist yet. 65%. We are taking steps in the right direction. We know that today we rarely have a job for life anymore, and instead we need to focus on transferable skills that are in demand by all employers. Things like communication, problem solving, creative thinking, and even resilience. We also know that it's more beneficial to offer young people choice that better suits their learning styles. Don't get me wrong, I'm a graduate and university is great, but it's not the only route to success. We now recognise that vocational learning and practical experience are equally important too. So we are getting there, but there's still a lot of work to do. There's one crucial piece of the puzzle that I think is always left out, and it's careers education. Careers educators have been historically and continue to be underfunded and under-resourced. The world of work is changing so quickly, it's impossible to keep up. All sectors have changed so much, yet careers education hasn't. We need an industry-led approach that equips our young people with up-to-date information on the most in-demand skills, and as a result benefits industry with reduced bottlenecks in the skills pipeline. We need to be creative, innovative, and collaborative in our approach to careers education to better inform our young people of the wide range of career paths and jobs available to them. And we need to extend that engagement to careers, teachers, and parents, two of the most influential sources of careers advice. We really need to identify a young person's attributes and talents to be able to offer them opportunities that are better matched to their talents and passions. I don't think it's a coincidence that my school reports often said that I was very talkative and could easily distract other students. Who knew that years later I would be using those skills today to give a TED talk? We need to make a connection between the subjects that young people study and the careers they want to pursue, and we need to start doing it at a much earlier age. My final message: the future of work looks so different than it does today. The rules of the game are changing. We need an innovative, creative, and collaborative approach to careers education. So consider this your call to action. The current skills crisis and the lack of investment and support in careers provision affects all of us: businesses, educators, the wider economy, parents, but especially our young people. The way careers education is delivered needs to be disrupted to allow our young people to fulfil their potential and contribute to the economy and society. We need to act now to enable our young people to foresee their own futures and to answer that one all-important question: what do you want to be when you grow up? Thank you.